This was supposed to be a film about the confluence of six strangers, converging in the foothills of the Himalayas to attend a music festival. This could have been a film about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But it wasn't meant to be. In March 2010, my friend Gaurav told me about a self-styled festival of music, culture, peace, and love to take place in Ladakh, India, the Confluence. Ladakh, which literally means land of high passes, floats at an altitude of 4 kilometers above sea level in the Himalayan state of Jammu and Kashmir. One of the last vestiges of traditional Tibetan culture and often described as heaven on earth, its allure was too strong to pass up. So, I did all the necessary planning and preparation for the trip in July. The day before I left Bangkok for Mumbai, the news broke on the Confluence Festival's website that this year's event had been cancelled at the 25th hour. A local politician and his goons had threatened violence against the festival's organizers and the event itself because they believed that the festival represented an invasion of Western music and illicit substances that were contrary to the local culture. My excitement somewhat doused, I started to feel a little uneasy about making the trip. But I wasn't going to let a group of misguided thugs derail my plans to visit Ladakh, so I got on my flight and told myself that Ladakh was the main attraction, not the festival. Little did I know that the cancellation of the festival had set in motion the course of events that would make this an unforgettable journey. I had the whole weekend to explore Mumbai, but my mind was racing with thoughts of things to come.
Why are you so desensitized to death? How can you watch a man dying in the street with no clothes on his back and no food to eat? I'm not saying I'm a saint or a sinner. In this life, man, there are no winners. We are all prisoners on this giant stage. I'll never stop rattling the doors on my cage. When the world is one,
Before we go any further, there's something you should know about me. For the longest time, I was the most obnoxious agnostic, almost atheist person you could ever meet. I thought religion and faith were symptomatic of weakness in a person. You couldn't really blame me for my revulsion towards religion. Throughout history, people have done a fine job of tarnishing the name of religion and all faiths under it. The world has seen Christianity and its female-oppressing, bloodletting crusades, Islam, twisted for terrorism and the brutal enforcement of Sharia law, the patriarchy of Buddhism, the lunacy of Scientology, the list goes on. The thing that bothered me most about religion was the surety with which people held their beliefs. And that comes down to faith, because we can't all be right. Nevertheless, people are willing to take that gamble with their lives and put all their chips on the bet that they have chosen the winning horse, whichever religion that may be. I prefer to pander towards Richard Dawkins and his trite agnosticism, the convincing science of evolution, the philosophies of Marx and Nietzsche. All that, combined with the perverse practices of people and expression of religion, turned me away from having any faith. I liked believing in myself and the control and power that that mindset gave me over my own destiny. Fate, it seemed, couldn't stand in my way.
Till the world is one. Will you look for me?
यूं अपनी राहों पर चल रही थी जिंदगी, ना किसी का ख्याल कर बस अपनी ही आवाज सुन रही थी जिंदगी। किस्मत के हर बुलावे को छोड़ अपना ही रुख लिख रही थी जिंदगी।
Gaurav and I awoke early for our flight to Srinagar via Delhi. On the ride to the airport, our enthusiasm was palpable, though you couldn't tell from our expressions. Gaurav was emerging from a turbulent weekend, in which he was given an ultimatum that left, amongst other things, the Ladakh trip hanging in the balance. Gaurav took fate into his own hands, or so he thought, and made a decision that would change his life. At the time, it seemed like a carpe diem moment for Gaurav, though in hindsight, I wonder if the decision was merely an eventuality, like the cancellation of the Confluence Festival, simply another casualty as fate propelled us towards Ladakh. We arrived at Srinagar airport and began to assemble our group of strangers. Gaurav and I had been friends for a few years, and Elroy was an acquaintance of Gaurav's. None of us had ever met the three girls, Shweta, Preet, and Tejasvi, each of whom Gaurav found individually through the Confluence Facebook website. Considering the fact that most of us had never met one another, there wasn't any awkwardness. It was almost like a reunion of friends that had fallen out of touch. Our like-mindedness, and later it would seem, fate, having brought us together. The atmosphere in Srinagar was visibly tense, a heavy security presence choking the streets, keeping everyone alert and on edge. Guns in Srinagar are as abound as umbrellas in Mumbai. It's a shame that so much beauty is hidden by men and their guns. After settling in, we took to Srinagar on foot, pausing to admire its beautiful sights and people. We were headed to Dal Lake to ride on the famous Shikara. It was our first chance to interact with Kashmiris and get their view on the separatist movement and recent incidents of violence between Kashmiris and Indian authorities. Our Shikara rower was eager to share some pearls of wisdom and give us a local perspective on life in Kashmir.